All right, so in this video, we're going to be looking at React Suspense and data fetching. So we're just going to look at an API and try to fetch some data, but with the new Suspense library coming out of Facebook. So let's go over. This is still experimental, so just keep that in mind. Things could change, but this is just kind of a first look and kind of my impressions on that. So if you are interested, I would suggest going to the docs. React has pretty great docs, and you can check out all the different options. We're just going to look at data fetching right now, but obviously there's many other aspects of Suspense coming out. So yeah, just caution, it is experimental, but we're going to take a look. So let's actually jump right into this, I guess. So if we come over here, we can see I just have a create React app open. I also have a api.js file that I've created, so go ahead and create that, and also a player.js, which I've also created here, and it's just an empty file, but that's going to be the API we're looking at, which is the ball don't lie API. So we're going to be using this. Basically, we're just going to use it to get a player by the ID, and we're just going to use this example here, which is LeBron James. So let's come back over here, and there's a couple things, or just one thing I guess first we want to install, and that is going to be, we want to go yarn add, and it's going to be React at experimental, as well as React -DOM at experimental. Okay, so that's great. And we can just go yarn start. Okay, great. We just have a blank React page. For you, you might have some other stuff in there. I just cleared out the app.js. Now, to get concurrent mode going in Suspense, we need to do a couple things in React.js. So we can close that up, give us a little more room, and we want to look into index.js. And we don't need service workers or anything here. So we can get rid of that. And what we want to do is come in here. And we need to change up this line here a little bit. So we're going to go React DOM.create root, and that's going to be document.get element by ID. So React DOM.create root document.element.id the root, and then above here we're just going to, this is where we're going to render our app. Render. And we can just toss in our app there. And that is all we got to do. So that should work. Let's just come over here and make sure we don't have any more errors or anything. I think we're good. Okay, so let's come back here and we can get started. We can get rid of this. We won't need that the rest of the time. And we're going to start in this api.js file. So come over here, and it's obviously blank right now. And the first thing we're just going to do is we're going to use fetch to fetch a player. So let's go const fetch player, and that's going to give us an arrow function here. And we're going to return fetch. We're just using the straight up fetch API, no external libraries for this. And then the URL, the endpoint we're going to hit here is going to be this, and I'm just going to paste this in. So it's https balldon'tlie.io/API v1 players. Anyways, you can see it there. That's the API we have there, and then we're going to go .then, and we'll put a response here and an arrow function, and we're just going to return a response.json. And call that. So we'll save that, it'll reformat a little bit. So this is our fetch player function right here. Now we're going to use that in order to fetch our data. So let's actually bring that down a bit. We're going to come up to the top here, give us a little bit of room, and we're going to, this is a file we're going to export. So we're going to go export, and we're going to go const fetch data, and that's going to be equal again to an arrow function here. We're going to come in here and go const player promise. So it's going to create a promise for us, and that's going to be equal to fetch player. So that's the function we just created down below. Okay, and then from that, we're going to return out of the fetch data, and we're going to create an object here, which is going to be player. And this is where we're going to wrap promise. I can't type here. Wrap promise, and we're going to pass in the player promise right here. Okay, so this is the object we're going to get back. It's going to be player and then dot whatever attributes we have in the API. And that's going to be from this wrap promise function, which we're about to create below. So let's go ahead and create that now. So let's go const wrap promise, and that's going to be equal to a promise. And we're going to have several different states that we can be. So this is all suspense stuff. So once you create this, you can just reuse it throughout any of your applications, which is pretty nice. And I imagine in future libraries, whether it's Apollo or whatever, they'll probably have this done for us. But it's good to write it out anyways. So we're going to go let status equal pending, and let result. And then let's come below that, and we're going to give us a little more room here. Now, we're going to create a variable here called suspender, and that's going to be equal to a promise dot then, and we're going to get a response here, and we're going to go status is equal to success, and we're going to go result is equal to res. So result's going to be equal to the response there of the promise. Then come down here, and if there's an error, we're going to go status of is equal to error, and result is going to be equal to error. Okay, so that's good. Then come down here, and we want to return here, and we're going to return a method here called read, and this is what we're going to call in our player function here. So we're going to go read, and then we're going to do, we could do a switch statement. We'll just do kind of an if else here. So if the status is equal to pending, then we're going to throw suspender, and then else if the status is equal to error, what we got there, we're going to throw a result, the result that we have, and then if none of those happen, we're just going to return the result. Okay, so that's good. Let's save that. I don't think I have any spelling errors, but very good chance I do, so who knows. So anyways, that's it for our API.js. So that's good. We got our fetch player, which we're going to pass in to our fetch data, which we're exporting, and it's going to return the player wrapped in this wrap promise function that we create here, which is going to handle all of our error handling and whatnot, and passes back this read method that we can call on it. So that might be a little complicated, but you literally have to write this once, and then you can just reuse it throughout all your applications. So that is the benefit there. So let's go ahead and we'll create our player.js here. So I have a little snippets library. I'm going to call RFC, which creates a functional React component here. And we'll export it for me here. And what else do we need? We need to bring in import fetch data. Okay, and that is from /API. Okay, so then let's give us a little room here, and we're going to const resource, and that's going to be equal to fetch data. So that's equal to the fetch data function we created up here. Great, so then we can just call the const player, we'll call it, and that is equal to resource dot player dot read, and we have to call that function there, and then we can, so that will create it for us, and then we can just use it throughout our application. So we got a div here, let's do say h3, and we'll go we'll want to get their name, so that is player dot first underscore name, and we'll go player dot last underscore name. Okay, so that's great for that. And then below that, let's do p tag, and we'll get, say, their height. Okay, and what was that? Sorry, let me come back here to our API. So height, so we have height in feet and height in inches. So that's what we want to get here. So again, we're going to go player dot height underscore feet, and we'll go give it a little one of those, and we'll go player dot height underscore inches, and that'll give us their inches in height. And okay, and then the last thing, let's just go p tag again, and we'll go weight, and we'll go player dot weight underscore, and it's pounds. Okay, and we'll save that. We're exporting it. We should be all good there. So the last thing I think we need to do is to bring it in here. So let's import it, and that was called player from /player, and we can come in here, and we can just return add the player component here. So let's save that, see if that works, and we come over, refresh, and we have some sort of error here. So let's see. Oh, so that's what we did. So let's come back to here, and we haven't wrapped this in Suspense at all. So that's the other thing we got to do. So we forgot to do that. So let's bring in Suspense from React there, and then we want to wrap this thing here in Suspense, and we can come down here, and then we want to pass in also here a fallback. So that'll be if it's loading or whatever. So we're just going to pass in loading. And that's how Suspense does it. Okay, let's save that there and see if that fetches for us. And there we go. So that is our data coming from that in Suspense. Now, say we wanted to see, let's actually check this out and see how Suspense handles the loading state and stuff for us. So if we go into the network or performance, we can go slow 3G, and you'll see this might take a second. It should give us a loading state. There we go, before it does it. So that's all good. That's how that works. And a couple of things with Suspense, or at least one thing. Suspense, if we have multiple components, we can wrap either all of them in a Suspense if we want it to wait for all of them to load before rendering the data, or rendering the component, or these can be wrapped in individual components here. So if we had another one, player one or something, we could do that and have different fallbacks and everything else like that. But that's kind of my intro to Suspense and data fetching. Hopefully it was helpful and gives you a little start into this whole world. Again, this is experimental stuff, so it's bound to change before it's official, but I thought it was maybe helpful to get you going on it right now. If you like the video, go ahead and subscribe and maybe consider liking. And until the next time, thanks a lot for watching. Bye.